Hello, fellow hunters. Greg here, Widowmaker Production. Today is the beginning of the build of the biggest Effen skull. And basically, I have a opening in my driveway that's about 10.5 feet wide. So this skull is going to be about 10.5 feet wide and about 14 feet tall. It is based on the old Castle Gray skull. Here's a picture of it, and we'll put a doorway in the middle of it for people to walk into the backyard. This is a drawing, just basic dimensions, give me something to go by. Alright guys, basically what I've done here is I've glued up about 10 sheets of foam, and they're roughly 55 inches long and about 2 feet deep, and I glued them with the glidden gripper. You can see I kind of traced out what I wanted to carve, and I've started carving it out here, and now I've got pretty much the whole face of this thing carved. Not real happy with the way it's turned out. It's just a little too flat for me. If you see here in this picture, it's just too flat. So what I did is I ended up going back and moving things back by cutting out the actual pieces and then insetting them back into the foam. I've added some more foam here to the bottom. Started working on giving it some more depth, and here I've started fitting up the teeth, and you can see I've got some more foam applied. Here's the teeth now mounted, and you can see it's got a lot more shape to it. Now we're starting the monster mud. This takes about two to three coats depending on how good you are at your carving. I was trying to get rid of my lines from one sheet to the next. It's really hard. And then now I've started on the panels. Now these are just 2-inch foam panels. This is roughly about 7 feet high, and I cut them on the table saw to the dimensions that I thought I was going to need for my 2 side panels. And this is just glued together with Gorilla Glue and some screws just to hold it until the Gorilla Glue sets up. And here you can see I've got some lines drawn on the foam. This is where I'm going to cut more out of this foam to give it more shape and depth. Here I've got the screen door material applied using ring shank nails and Gorilla Glue, and you just take that and you crumple it all up into a big ball, and then you drape it out over and attach it. And here I've started the monster mud now, and here again shows you the ring shank nails and the Gorilla Glue. Okay guys, I out here in the garage working late, and just thought I'd do a quick little snippet of what I'm working on here as far as with the monster mud. Now this is the second coat I'm working on. The top half of this has already been second coated in, and I'm about in the middle now. Here's my monster mud right here. Again, this is a 4-to-1 ratio, roughly, and basically all you're doing is just brushing it in. Brush it in, get all the little joints and crevices and cracks and holes, and just make sure that it's covered completely. Pretty simple work. I mean, I could have my 10-year-old kid out here doing that. Hey, that's an idea. He'd probably screw that up. Maybe, I don't know. But that's probably not very nice. Anyways, just going through and patting it in. It's pretty thick in consistency, so it clings well. It doesn't run a whole lot. If you leave it too thick on a vertical surface, it can run a little bit, and you have to go back and just brush it out to get the run out. But I mean, this is pretty simple shit, people. And again, this is over our screen door material. The wire, the old wire screen that you put on a screen door. Yeah, they still sell it. I actually picked this up at Home Depot. for a 4-foot by 50-foot long sheet, which actually did both sections, both wall panels here. You can't see the whole panel here because it's so big, but I did both panels with that 50-foot section and still had some left over. I think cost on it was like 29 bucks, 25 bucks. Don't quote me on that, folks, but it wasn't that expensive. And again, the process is just well, here I got such a mess going on out here in this shop, but hopefully you can see that. This is the back side. Okay, it's just a box, and you know, we carved out, you can't really see it because the lighting's pretty bad in here, guys, but anyways, I basically just carved out the outside panels and the panels that run this way in shapes, and then attached the fabric. Okay, and before I attached the fabric, I took it and I crinkled it up, balled it up, stomped on it, jumped on it, you know, and then unfolded it and draped it over. And then I just took ring shank nails, some 1¼ ring shank nails that I had, and I just tacked it in place all the way around, across the middle, down the center. And then I went back with some Gorilla Glue and just dotted it every so often around to just give it that extra hold. Once it's, you know, once the Gorilla Glue sets up, it's hard as a rock, and you'll never get that fabric off of there without tearing it. So, you know, pretty simple shit here, people. But I think this is looking phenomenal for a rock wall, you know. And it was cheap. I mean, it was cheap. It wasn't that expensive. We'll go into cost figures on everything when the whole project's done. But, you know, that's about it. And this is what I came up with. There it is, folks. The first half of my big ass skull. Obviously the sides ain't gonna look like a skull, they're gonna look like a rock wall. But up here, where's my finger? Up here, up there will be the eyes, and the nose, and then, you know, it's not exactly a skull, but it's supposed to, you know, perception is everything, as Alan would say. But this side over here is kind of my finished paint. I don't know, you guys tell me what you think of the finished paint. But I'm still working on the teeth, and there'll be a couple more teeth that look more like boulders coming out of the rock. But that'll be the walkthrough, you know, into the backyard. And I'm actually going to have a door here, like an old wooden door on it. But it's in 3 separate pieces. They're super light to carry around. I can actually pick them up with one hand. I can't pick that up with one hand. It's a little awkward to pick that up with one hand, but it's still pretty light. But, you know, they just place, and then this just sits on top, just rests on top. And then the next 2 pieces will rest and rest. And then I'll probably go through with some plywood strips and some long screws, and just go through a piece of plywood from one part down through the other with screws. So I've got wood, foam, wood, to kind of just pinch it all together and clamp it together. And then these 2 panels will actually do the same thing through the side of a piece of plywood into the fence post, and then there's actually a 2x4 into the side of the house for the gate there, that will screw in to hold everything in place. But this side here has been waterproofed. This is all waterproofed and ready to get painted. And then this is the foam, and it actually has been monster mudded, waterproofed, and then I still wasn't happy with how hard it had gotten. You know, it was still pretty soft, even though it has the monster mud on it. So I went through and I did a fiberglass resin over the whole thing, and I'm probably going to do one more coat of that on that part, just to give it a little bit more hardness. You know, it's hard, but you know, it's still soft enough where I can push my finger into it. So I just want to make sure that it, you know, in moving it around, it doesn't get damaged. Now the monster mud over the screen door material, hard as a rock. I mean, it's still, you know, it still has some flexibility to it, but it's hard, you know. I mean, if somebody were to like run into it, you know, full speed, yeah, I think they destroy the whole thing. But I don't expect anybody to actually run into the sidewalls there, because again, this will just be the entrance. So I'm pretty happy with the way this is looking. I'd not seen it like this, guys, until just now. I mean, before I'd done the monster mud and everything, I'd fitted everything together just kind of get a look, but this is my first look at it too, with it starting to really come together. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment. For all you newbies, subscribe, and check us out on SOP. We're on there every Tuesday night, it sounds like now. Tuesday night, Thursday night sometimes. Yeah, so alright, I'll probably do one more video update here, just with everything finished painted, before I move on to the next sections. So look forward to that in the next couple days. Alright, happy hunting.